Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Roberts. I am finishing my master's in education for assessment curriculum and teaching with a STEM endorsement, and I'm currently a 7th and 8th grade math teacher within the Norristown Area School District, and I'm finishing my 5th year there. After reading How Students Learn, two principles really stuck out to me on how students learn. The first one being prior knowledge. I went in knowing that early resources and education have played a huge role in my students' understanding and mastery of the content, usually in the positive. However, they did discuss in these chapters how it could also be a negative experience, more or less if the prior knowledge is incorrect. Firsthand, I've seen this with my algebra students. I've had students come to me with the belief that a positive times a negative is a positive. If you are a math person, you know that is incorrect. So that is a concept that I had to reteach and have students relearn and understand, which took a huge portion of our learning and made it a little bit more difficult as we went through because I had to keep acknowledging that prior misunderstanding. So prior knowledge definitely plays a big role, both good and bad. Another thing that really stuck out to me was principle 3 with the metacognition. They discussed in the science perspective of students self-explaining how they get there, what their process is, basically thinking out loud. They showed that this has a more thorough understanding of the skills, which is something I do in my math classrooms as well. I want them to be able to show their work, explain to me why they made these choices, even if it's incorrect. That also goes into some of the barriers that I feel like my students face. Kind of going with I just talked about metacognition, the self-explanation. I feel like a lot of my students have limited imagination and creativity. Many of them are used to just memorizing facts, not truly understanding how they got here or what got them to this point. In How Students Learn, they did talk about this in the comparison between Chinese and American schools, that the elementary level had a better understanding of how, not just what. So that is a big barrier I feel like my students face. And again, with what I just discussed, I've seen some of my students come in with prior knowledge that was incorrect. So that obviously is just going to make it a little bit more difficult to add new information and change what they already know. In my own classroom, principle 3 was the main principle that really stuck out to me and what I use, talking about metacognition and self-monitoring. As I said, I'm a 7th and 8th grade math teacher, but I also teach algebra. And I see a lot of the times in these classrooms, especially the higher performing, is they do not want to fail. They are not okay with failing. And that is a concept that I have to reinforce throughout the school year, that it is okay if you fail. As long as you are trying, as long as you are able to show me how you got there, you are going to learn from that. You're going to understand, hey, I know what works and what doesn't work, rather than I've been told this works. And one of my bullet points talks about BTC, that's Building Thinking Classrooms. It's a great book. It's something I implement in a lot of my algebra classrooms, and the concept supports metacognition and self-monitoring. Students more or less teach themselves the concepts, and I'm just there as a guide to make sure they're not going completely off board, but also making sure they know they're on the right path. So again, it takes a couple months, but once the students understand that it's okay to fail, that they can just talk through it, they truly have a better understanding and are more willing to learn and think outside the box moving forward. And finally, looking at my personal STEM perspective, I know it's probably not the best one, but I feel that I am very good at combining science and math. I see their relations, I see they can overlap and how they are used within each other. However, integrating technology and engineering seamlessly is a little bit more difficult for me. I am very keen on emphasizing science and math and then adding technology or adding engineering, but not making them all work together. So I'm really hoping after this course, I have a better means of combining the 4 concepts and making them one, rather than 2 to 3 different concepts and finding how they work. So I'm very excited. And in the corner is my favorite book. It's a cheesy rom-com. So if you're looking for something a little mindless, suggest that book and the movie adaptation. All right, thank you.